sometimes feel like we're the little engine that could. We're only 6 staff members, and there's a huge amount that gets done, and it gets done because of so many people that are allies and that partner with us.
There is no other organization in North America that serves this community.
Footsteps is an astonishing grassroots organization whose members, staff, board, funders, and allies have planted a valiant stake for justice.
7 years ago, I read the book Unchosen, which tells the story of our honoree, Malkie Schwartz. Reading this book was my first real exposure to the horrible struggles so many Jews face when they decide to leave the ultra-Orthodox communities in which they were raised. Discovering that right in our backyard, Jewish parents were literally rejecting their children, cutting off emotional and financial support, and casting them into the world without the most basic survival skills shook me to the core. I felt a compelling need to help these Jewish outcasts, so I picked up the phone one day after reading the book and called Malkie. And I was mesmerized listening to her story and those of the people she was helping. Malkie and Footsteps were beyond belief inspiring, and 7 years later, I am still here. Freedom of religion is a basic civil right, one of the founding principles of our democracy that most of us take for granted. But many Footsteppers have had to sacrifice everything, relationships with their parents, siblings, and even their own children, just to exercise that right. As a father of 3 children, a brother of 2 rabbis, and a son who frankly has had my own fair share of rebellious moments, I cannot fathom the notion of rejecting a family member or being rejected by a family simply because of religious differences. That is why I am so passionate about the mission of Footsteps. We can never fill the void Footsteppers must live with every day. Often, they are faced with challenges they never could have imagined when they chose to pursue a different path. But we can offer Footsteppers a new community, emotional and financial support, as well as educational opportunities and career guidance. In short, we provide them with the requisite skills to succeed in mainstream society.
Good evening. I am the 5th of 11 children of a prominent ultra-Orthodox rabbi. Ultra-Orthodoxy includes many different sects, both Hasidic and non-Hasidic, who generally abide by ever stricter laws of isolation, limits on the public presence of females, restrictions in dress, and expectations of complete obedience to a powerful hierarchy of rabbis. As a teenager, I struggled with the strict rules in my community. I befriended a boy, which was forbidden. I told my mother I wanted to go to college. This was also forbidden. I wore skirts that were too long and sweaters that were too tight, and this was certainly forbidden. My parents would not tolerate my rebellion. When I was 16 years old, they pushed me out of their family. I went through hell in the years that followed. Struggling to cover my rent with a minimum wage job, I often went hungry. With little knowledge of how to operate within an environment not segregated by gender, at the age of 17, I was raped. With no encouragement as I tried to navigate a terrifying process of self-creation, I struggled with crippling self-doubt and shame. If I could give one thing to that girl I used to be, I would want, more than anything, to be able to stand in front of her, put my hands on her shoulders and say, "You are a good person. Ignore all the people who are trying to tear you down. I promise you, there are thousands of other people out there who also think that freedom and education and curiosity and egalitarianism are values worth fighting for. To feel less alone, that would be the greatest gift I could give to that girl." And that is why now, at the age of 31, settled in a good life, with a thriving career, a master's degree in public policy from Harvard, a loving husband and daughter, I define myself as a footstepper. As an American and as a proud Jew, I believe that there is an urgent moral imperative to stand by the people who leave ultra-Orthodoxy in pursuit of a self-determined life, so no one has to go through this journey alone. Footsteps provides vital, life-altering services, including educational and career empowerment, mentors, peer support groups, and individual counseling. For me, Footsteps supported my graduate school studies and offered a platform for my voice at Footsteps art shows and educational events. But perhaps even more importantly, through holiday potlucks, camping trips, and social get-togethers, Footsteps connects individuals who are moving through similar journeys. At Footsteps, I made my closest friends. At Footsteps, I found a community. Today, former ultra-Orthodox Jews do not have to be alone because Footsteps brings us together as a strong and empowered group. And today, former ultra-Orthodox Jews do not have to be alone because this room is filled with men and women, Jewish and non-Jewish, religious and secular, who by your very presence are making a statement that deciding on a self-determined life is a noble choice worthy of passionate support. We are so grateful to have you all as our allies. It is thanks to you that we have accomplished all that we have in the past 10 years. We can't wait to see how the next stage of our journey together unfolds. Thank you.
We are so fortunate to have our outstanding executive director, Lonnie Santo, running this organization. Of all the terrific organizations I've been involved with over the years, I have never seen one do so much with so little.
I'd like to share with you the vision for our next 10 years. Collectively, all of us here tonight have so much to be proud of. Thanks to you, we have created the infrastructure to provide a broad range of services and to an increasing number of people who come to us desperate to exercise their right to choose a way of life that reflects their dreams, desires, and aspirations. But there are thousands more ultra-Orthodox men and women out there who have not heard of Footsteps and do not know that there is an organization willing to help anyone who wants to lead a self-determined life. Over the next 10 years, it is our goal to ensure that every 17-year-old knows that an arranged marriage is not his or her only option, and that mothers and fathers do not need to fear losing their children if they leave the community, and that a person who is gay knows that he or she does not need to lead a double life, and that a person hungry for secular education knows that he or she can fulfill that dream. As the presence of Footsteps grows, those within the ultra-Orthodox community will know, should they choose, that there is a warm and welcoming community of peers and allies waiting to help them not only survive, but thrive in a new world. Over the next 10 years, we also want to serve as a national resource so that individuals from across North America will know that they could turn to Footsteps should they consider leaving ultra-Orthodoxy. Over the next 10 years, we plan to nurture a full-fledged movement of Footsteppers who are advocating for reform in their communities, bringing their unique perspectives to the broader Jewish community, and contributing their incredible talents to the world at large. And Footsteps' work will not be complete until this is a world where individuals from insular religious communities are free to live lives as they choose without compromising the support of family and friends. Footsteps' work will not be complete until individuals leaving ultra-Orthodoxy are no longer haunted with a self-doubt that causes them to desperately question the value of their own lives. Footsteps' work will not be complete until this is a world where all parts of the Jewish community are welcoming and inclusive of difference of lifestyle choices. Footsteps' work will not be complete until this is a world where individuals from insular communities know their rights to actively build meaningful, economically secure lives that are consistent with their personal identity, beliefs, and goals. In 10 years, at our 20th anniversary gala, you could buy tickets at the registration table, they're on discount now. We plan to celebrate all of this and more. We hope that you will all commit to accompany us for the next part of our exciting journey. Of course, thank you to all our members for your courage, your principles, and your self-determination, and for being there for one another. It is truly an honor to work with you on a daily basis. To Malkie Schwartz and to Peter Chernoff, thank you for addressing a grave unmet need. Just imagine how different life would have been for our over 800 members and the broader network of those who've left the ultra-Orthodox community if it had not been for these two visionaries. Thank you so much.
Tonight, we celebrate the tremendous accomplishments of Footsteps over the past 10 years. Malkie and Peter, your wisdom, your vision, your hard work and creativity have literally given a new life to hundreds of Footsteppers, many of whom are here to party with you tonight. Mazal Tov to both of you for this well-deserved honor, and thank you all for coming out tonight and sharing this major milestone with us.
I truly am honored. Malkie's sister, Hani, said, don't be falsely modest, so I won't be falsely modest. I will tell you instead what I really believe, which is that I'm a very lucky person. I always think I have been lucky, and I want to tell you about one particular piece of luck. 10 or 11 years ago, my dear friend Deborah, who's sitting in the front row crying, and don't do it to me, called me up and she said, Peter, you got to do something for me. She said, you've been on 100 non-for-profit boards and you've been chairman of some and members of others. She exaggerates a little bit. And she said, my niece Malkie has this idea. She wants to start this organization, and I want you to go and just have a cup of coffee with her. Just sit down for a minute, a lunch or whatever, have a cup of coffee with her, point her in the right direction, see if there's anything to it, see if we can get this started. So I did. And here I am. I met Malkie, and of all the people I've met, this was someone of such great vision, such great integrity, such great drive that I was drawn to this organization, and I said, this is worth at least another cup of coffee. 10 years later, this is what has been produced. Those 10 years, as Mark has alluded to, were not totally easy. This was a new, young organization. We had all the problems that a young organization ordinarily does, except at Footsteps, nothing is just a simple problem. I don't think there has been a single issue in 10 years where the answer is either yes or no. The answer is, well, maybe it's by virtue of the group that we are, that the answer is always complicated, and we worked hard to work through those issues. It wasn't always easy working with Malkie either. A lot of times, because we were relying not on Malkie's expertise, she had none, but on her drive, on her creativity, on her spirit, a lot of times we couldn't figure out what she was talking about. And in fact, a lot of times we couldn't figure out who she was talking about. And so we needed to develop sort of a code to help us identify people. And sometimes it was in public, so we couldn't always do that conveniently. So the code that we came up with was there were people that were either YTM, which meant younger than Malkie, or OTM, which meant older than Malkie. And I can tell you that for the first 7 or 8 years, practically everybody involved in this organization was OTM, was older than Malkie. So the reason that I say that I'm lucky is that because of that phone call, because of that cup of coffee, I became involved in this organization. I have gotten to know a lot of great people. I've gotten to know a lot of the footsteppers who I call friends, and I've gotten to see how wonderfully they do with just a little bit of help from footsteps. Most important, and the thing that I am most thankful for, my great luck, is that I've had the chance to work with the woman without whom none of us would be in this room. She is exceptional in her drive, in her spirit, in her intellect. She is a wonderful, wonderful giving person, and I'm glad to say this is someone that I respect, that I admire, and that I love. Malkie Schwartz.
Thank you all for being here today. One warm evening, a little over a decade ago, I had a clandestine meeting with a young woman. We'll call her Chaya. Like me, she had recently left her ultra-Orthodox community of origin, and like me, she was scared. Scared of what people back home were saying about her, scared of her future, scared that she would become just another cautionary tale perpetuated in the ultra-Orthodox world about the mentally ill breakaways who end up colossal failures or fall prey to drug addiction and homelessness. After weeks of reassurance that we'd keep our meeting a secret, Chaya and I decided to meet underground on the platform of the 1 train. As the crowd swirled around us and the trains roared past, we stood there talking about our shared sense of relief, that we weren't alone and that there were others who felt equally adrift in an alien world. The sense of comfort and support in each other's company was revelatory. If the two of us were going through this, how many more current and former ultra-Orthodox men and women stood on the same metaphoric platform, desperate to get from one place to another? It was this conversation with Chaya, as well as a few other life-altering encounters, like the one with Peter, which convinced me Footsteps could be the vehicle that would deliver people from a life they didn't want to live to a life of their choosing. It was the start of this organization we are celebrating here today. We discovered early on in the Footsteps journey that there are many, many people who grew up ultra-Orthodox who simply put want out. Whether it's because they had a difficult childhood, or they hunger for an education, or they no longer believe in the tenets of ultra-Orthodoxy, or all or none of the above, they yearn for the right to make a choice about how to live their life. It's a most basic right in America. It's a human right. In its earliest days, Footsteps was in many ways an underground movement. After I placed calls and sent emails out to people who called and sent the emails out to others, about 25 people showed up for a drop-in support group. The only rule that was outlined before and after each meeting, and sometimes in the middle, was that no one would tell anyone within the ultra-Orthodox community about anyone they met at this by-invitation-only gathering. We met at the Y and at NYU's Bronfman Center, a roving support network for people who were at once suffering from the loss of the extremely tight community, eager to experience a brand new world, fearful of what lay ahead, but determined to build a life that was consistent with their personal needs and beliefs. If it sounds like a roller coaster, trust me, it is. Through those meetings, I discovered how deep these needs were. People were isolated, lacking the basic skills to get jobs, had little or no money, and on too many occasions, I met people with nowhere to live. There were some who didn't have a traditional high school diploma, which meant that they had to take the GED exam and then apply to college. Quite a feat for someone who was told all their life that college was nothing more than a bad temptation. And I haven't even begun to talk about the deep trauma associated with adjusting to a foreign world. Unlike many of the people I was meeting, it was my good fortune to have family who lived in the world I wanted to be a part of. My grandmother, Judith Goldberg Schwartz, who has now passed on, was my rock. When I found my way out, there was nothing she wouldn't do to help me. She housed me, problem solved with me, and dreamed with me. Okay. When the idea of Footsteps began evolving, the organization immediately became a family affair. My aunt, Deborah Friedman, co-chair of this event, was my closest ally. She not only supported me emotionally, she put me in touch with people who were also willing to come on board, or lead the board, and turn this idea of Footsteps into a reality. For your unending dedication and optimism, thank you. In fact, thanks to Deborah, I met Peter and his family who are here tonight. As an attorney, Peter has billable hours. And if Footsteps were to be billed for the time he spent advancing our mission, we'd be in serious debt. Peter, we owe a great debt to you. Without Deborah and Peter, I can honestly say there would be no Footsteps. When I think of all the support I received, and then I contrast it with the total lack of support many of our members experienced, I'm all the more blown away by the absolute courage it takes to leave the community when it means cutting ties with everyone you know and everyone who has loved and nurtured you. I invite you now to imagine it. Close your eyes and visualize what it would be like if tomorrow you were adrift in a world you barely knew existed. You are alone. At best, your friends and family question your motivations and your character, but it is likely that you are without your parents, spouse, children, or friends. Imagine what it would be like if you needed to learn everything from scratch: how to behave in society, how to get a job, how to fend for yourself, and you had absolutely no one to help you, no one to listen to you or offer any support at all. That was the situation for Chaya, who I met on the subway platform, and it was the situation for many people who left prior to 2003. That was the situation that caused me to realize Footsteps was absolutely necessary, and it still is. Fortunately, over the years, many more supporters identified with our cause and offered critical support. As I look out here tonight, I am just astonished by what I see. A ballroom filled with people who care deeply about choice and those who can't take choice for granted. Thank you. I hope you will continue to support the organization because I know for a fact there are many people out there who need us and need each other. Okay, my next thank you is for my siblings. I'm the eldest of 9 children, and the price my family bore has been quite heavy. Okay, first, my parents and siblings were called on to account for my leaving. And then, as word got out about Footsteps, they were called on to account for my activities. Tonight, a majority of my 8 siblings are here. Please stand up. Each of my siblings has demonstrated tremendous strength. To some, being my sister or brother means that you must be a bad influence on others, that you are not trustworthy enough to be around their children, and that you must have some crooked priorities. To say that your attendance here tonight means the world to me is an understatement. It is a statement of your abilities to persevere and my great fortune to have you in my life. Thank you to Footsteps members. 10 years later, many Footsteppers are paying it forward and helping people in earlier stages of their transition. That's the beauty of what Footsteps has become. A fresh and bold community built on the principles of freedom and choice, as well as love and support. Peter told me a story the first time we met. This is for you. And we talked about Footsteps. Wait till you see my little interpretation of it, too. As I remember it, a little girl walked along the seashore and saw lots of starfish abandoned on the sand. Some of you may have heard this before. And desperate to be back in the water, she picked up a starfish and threw it into the water. Someone asked her why she was bothering to pick up starfish. After all, there are so many, and it is not possible to help them all. As she picked up one starfish and put it in the water, she said, "It means a lot to this starfish." When Peter told this story, I wasn't sure he heard me. We didn't have time to pick up one starfish at a time. But then he said, I know, you want to build a machine that would be capable of sweeping up all the starfish and bringing them all to the water. Today, Footsteps is that machine with personality. And it's a machine that gains in strength every time someone lends his or her support. It grows in its capacity to catch every last starfish lying on the beach. And here is something to keep in mind. Footsteps starfish, we hit the water running. And in little time, we stand shoulder to shoulder with those who are seeking their way to freedom. Footsteps members have demonstrated their commitment to ensuring that the machine leaves no starfish behind. Okay, to those who are just being introduced to Footsteps and to those who have been supporting Footsteps for many years, thank you so very much. We hope you'll stick around for the next 10 years. Tonight we are celebrating, but there is so much work to be done. For this reason, I'm asking each person to make the next 10 years possible. Please turn to your neighbor on your right and say, 10 more years. Everyone, 10 more years. Yes. And now to your left, let's do it again. 10 more years. Okay. Thank you for indulging me in that. Let's have a great time tonight and celebrate the work that has been done and will be done to continue to strengthen Footsteps. Thank you so, so very much.
Malkie, in seeking your freedom, you blazed a trail for others with eternal gratitude for your vision, wisdom, and compassion. Thank you.
We would be pleased to send a complimentary DVD of this program to anyone who wishes to support Shalom TV with a tax-deductible gift of $36, double chai or more, to the nonprofit organization Jewish Education in Media. Simply visit the Shalom TV website homepage and click on the Donate button to make a donation by PayPal or your credit card. And please indicate the program for which you would like a DVD. Or you can send your tax-deductible check made out to GEM, Post Office Box 180, Riverdale Station, Bronx, New York, 10471. And again, please remember to indicate which program you would like to receive on DVD with our compliments. And we thank you for your kind support.